Five Morrison, and this week in car audio. Tune in. This week in car audio. Tune in. We'll be talking about bass, talking about chips, talking about rings. You ain't got them, zip your lip. You got a problem you haven't found, check your grounds. The show about to start. Tune in. This week in car audio. Yeah. Tune in. This week in car audio.
Welcome to This Week in Cardio with your host, the Judge, Doug Stockton, co-hosted by Mr. Jeffrey Fernandez, who is not here. Let's see here. Let me close this out. I'm going to start sharing. How's it going, Ray? My guest is going to be Ray Pimley today. How's it going, Ray?
It's going well. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Yeah, no problem. So we're going to talk a little bit this week about upcoming show season. I'm still sharing to a bunch of web, the different pages right now. So let me see if I can't. There we go. Pull that up. And give me some mute. There we go. Man, they just let anyone on this show, per Justin Stolman. Says, love you, Ray. All right, let me get my YouTube one going real quick. Bam, switch it up. And yeah, these are the little things. Tyler Archer says, good evening, fellas. Where's Gary Killian? Justin. So, what happened while I'm sharing this and getting it ready to go, Gary gets back to his house, notices everybody's sitting on the couch. Nobody is on their phones, and nobody is on their Joel says he's back. Steve Willis says, what's up? Warren Jackson, what's up? Anyway, so Gary gets to his house. Nobody's watching TV, and nobody's on their phones. And he's all, what's going on? And the internet was out at his house. So he texted me. He's all, I'm not sure that the texting works. But anyway, so that's what happened. Is Gary's internet was out, and so that sucked. Let's see here. I am still sharing to a handful of websites or Facebook posts. Autorama, Team Mini, that's how far I went. Ruthless, I did them. Anyway, so Ray, how's it going?
Going well. I'm getting over a cold, so if everybody can hear my voice, I'm trying not to cough right now. So I'm clearing that out. But yeah, pretty bad cold. But otherwise, everything's going really well.
Okay.
Getting our new season put together for IASCA and looking to work with all the other orgs. So.
So for people that might not know, because we do go all over the world with this podcast, Ray is the California IASCA judge. Does that make sense, or is that the best way to say it?
Yeah, essentially Southwest region at this point. Kind of I run all the events for Nevada and California. So we do have a couple other judges that I'm working on getting trained right now. They're going to be kind of working underneath me, but I'm essentially head judge for the Southwest region.
Southwest, so that'd be California, Nevada, and what else?
Technically Arizona, if we did anything there. We currently don't, but if we did, I'd definitely have some involvement.
Okay, there you go. So before we get started here, I want to say thank you to our sponsors once again: Badass Sounds by Steve Bass and eBox Design and Install. So I want to thank those guys. Without people like them, it'd be hard for us to pay the bills. As a matter of fact, it just came on. I just got the new bill. The one of my streaming services to put this all together was $140. And then I got the other one the week after that, and that was another $180. So that for the year, that's $400 essentially. for just to run this podcast. So, want to thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you to our sponsors. If you get an opportunity to support somebody that supports the shows that you guys like and supports the things that you guys enjoy. All right. So, how does your season look, Ray? I'm sure you. This is Streamlabs, by the way, Justin. But if you're going to stream on multiple websites, then you have to pay a fee, and I think that one was the $189 for the multiple for Streamlabs. So, anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, Ray, what does your season look like right now?
Well, I'm pulling up my calendar. So I have quite a few dates already kind of locked in, and then I have
Mm-hmm.
several more, even more than half of them that are to be determined that are getting sorted out right now. Tons
Uh-huh.
of good stuff coming up. A lot of it is not even just shows that I'm running now. I have a couple new judges, like I said. New judge, his name's Patrick. He's going to be working like the Northern California, like Eureka area, so like that
Okay.
northern coast, maybe even like Redding, so that really northern portion. He's got a couple shows, and then in Southern California, working with another judge, Jeff, who's going to be taking on like San Diego, the LA region, and even possibly the showdown coming up.
Okay. Speaking of which, for people that don't know, Ray is going to be a first-time daddy coming up pretty soon. So his wife now, Josie. So how's things going with her and the pregnancy and all that stuff?
Going pretty smooth, for
Okay,
the
good.
most part. It's like all the things that they tell you, all the like the cravings and all that. She hasn't really had too much of that. It's nothing very specific. There'll be like one day she really wants something, and the next day she won't want it anymore. So it's kind of funny, but not too intense. I'll knock on wood because we're not there totally yet, but she's
Hmm.
pretty far in the second trimester, and
Okay.
we're due in April. So April is kind of like that prime time of season for competition. Like I'll have like the majority of my events, like my big events, usually in April. So this year I have to kind of shuffle that stuff around, so you won't see too much happening in April unless the other judges are going to do it. She's a little nervous. Her family's known to have early birth, so I'm kind of dancing around like a pretty wide window right now of okay, I can't really host events here, but we're going to do what we can to make sure it's a good season for everybody.
Uh,
Um, but
yep.
yeah, it's going good.
Steve Willis saying congratulations, Pimley family.
Thank you.
Janet Base Queen says coming next season with something big. Um, Justin Solomon said the sickness was there. I had to park my car away from her because the exhaust. So, um, so just a quick question: do you plan on being in the delivery room for this?
Yes.
You do.
Yep.
And she's planning a traditional birth.
As far as I know, yes. She's
Okay.
talking about these different things you'll hear about, like different positions and
Yeah.
whatnot to birth a baby. And I said, well, that's all you and your doctor and whoever's in the room. Like I'm just here for the hand squeezing.
Oh, it gets way worse than that.
Yeah.
She will tell you how much she hates you,
Yep.
and then how you'll never ever touch her again. And I've already gone through this with 3 kids. My youngest is 24 years old, and I still remember.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, Justin says hopefully no C-section. Like you said, I don't necessarily believe that's going to be an issue probably for her unless something does go awry. But you know, uh, my oldest daughter started out, and we were like, she's not in a good place. And then my wife's water broke, and she wasn't to 10 centimeters, but her water had broke. So we had some weird stuff going on, but when the time came, she flipped around. Everything was good,
It all worked
So
out.
yeah, so it was a little sketchy at first, but and it's your first one, right? So
Yeah.
people can tell you what's going to happen all they want, uh, but until you live through it, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't even know what to expect yet. So it's just kind of going through the ride right now, going through the motions until it hits you. It's like I know there's a baby and I've seen the ultrasounds, but
Hmm.
it's not tangible yet. So
Steve says, my wife never said any of that stuff. I held one of her legs and watched. Um,
I don't know about watching. I'm I'm gonna try
oh,
to
I will tell you,
avoid that.
it will give you a completely different perspective of your wife, and not in a
Yeah,
bad way. I'm not saying it in a bad way, even slightly, but it will give you a, a different type of appreciation for her. When you see that head crown out, and and in no way does it become a sexual thing at all. It just the life coming out of her and knowing that you're part of that is it'll be something special. I
yeah,
promise
it's
you.
humbling. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll definitely be something special. It will most men it will make them work harder uh, than anybody will ever know. It will change your perspective on what's important in life. It'll change your perspective on what your job is as a husband and a father. So, like I said, I'm not. The intention's not to scare you, and it's
no,
not
it's good.
it's not
It's good.
scary. It's not scary at all. But it definitely gives you a different perspective. Um, I do know you realize, you're responsible for more than just your own life. You're responsible for your wife now, and then, but when you're responsible for this thing that's that big, you know, um, it'll definitely, it's definitely a life changing experience for you, and
Right.
you know, looking forward to it for you. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
best way I
thank
could
you.
say it. Um, yeah. You know, my first kid, when she was born, I was at work, and the boss called me in. This is the day before cell phones, right? Um, let's see. Steve says, seeing that child come out normal was such a huge relief to me. I will tell you, the first thing they do is count the fingers and toes
Yep.
and check for color. And those things, your baby will not be breathing when they first come out. Realize that that's just normal. So just, your baby will be blue and it won't be breathing. Somebody said you have a girl coming.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
We've already named her too.
Oh, cool. What was the
Yeah.
name?
It'll be Sydney.
Okay, Sydney. There you go. Is that named after anybody specific, a grandmother or anything?
No, not that one. The middle name is Corinne, so that's after her grandmother, and then last name is Pimley. That's my name. But
Right.
so Sydney was just we came up with a list. We had a long list of
Yeah.
just different names, and it was like one of the only contributions I made was Sydney. I had like three names, and she didn't like anything I ever said. So like three like realistic contributions, and Sydney was one of them, and we kept like landing back on Sydney every time, and it was just like, why do we have to overthink this? Her name should be Sydney. It's that simple. So her name will be Sydney Corinne Pimley, and
Hmm.
we're looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we named our children, my wife named the girls and I named the boy. So it's he wasn't hard to name. He's got my same name. He's Douglas the Fourth. So that wasn't very hard to figure a name out there. So no, that's cool. Like I said, it's awesome that like I said, look forward to that change in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
It'll be
already
cool.
started changing a lot of my thought process and perspective. It's just like, okay, I'm thinking much more hard about, okay, I gotta focus on career, gotta focus on home.
Mm-hmm.
The Jeep, I haven't done much with that build and I haven't touched it in several months and just like none of that stuff matters too much right now.
Justin Stolman asked any details for Autorama, be DB Drag and IASCA, maybe both days focused this year. So it's going to be the same as always. IASCA will be on Saturday, and DB Drag will be Saturday, Sunday. So we do a 5X weekend for DB Drag, so 3X on Sunday, 2X on Saturday. So that's just how it is every year. So we're maintaining that same thing. Um. Anyway, what dates do you have? Kind of. Why don't you give us a rundown of what you got?
Okay. I don't really think I have everything ready. But let's talk about, I think what will be my first kind of getting back into the season groove. We're looking at February 22nd in
Okay.
Sacramento. We're going to be trying a different venue, a new venue. So
Okay.
I won't get too deep into that until I'm finalized. I think we're
Mhm.
going to be there February 22nd and May 22nd, or sorry, March 22nd.
Okay.
So that's Sacramento right now. We have the showdown in Vegas. Whether I'm judging that or not is to be determined, but that'll be a big first 3X of the season. We're also looking at, I think March 15th, to do we have an annual multi-org 3X that we do in Fresno.
Okay.
So that'll be, usually it's Base Wars and myself. We could get Jose in on that if you wanted to. Um, just a whole plethora of dates, but those are some of the first ones coming up. Some of the big ones obviously will be Autorama, and then following that, we're going to be doing our second annual Rolling on the River event. So this first year was just an IASCA 2X event. This year, it's going to be IASCA 3X event with multiple orgs. So we'll try to get Jose with DB Drag. We'll try to get Richard with Base Wars at minimum, get their participation out there. We did one in the fall, kind of like so the official one is spring. We do a big
Uh-huh.
camping thing, bonfire, all this crazy fun stuff, plus the competition. Then we try to do kind of a smaller version in the fall. I'm not sure if we're going to keep that or not. The problem with fall was the location with the bugs. A lot of farming and everything around that venue. It's right on the river. The mosquitoes were nuts, and
Ah.
after you spray down and everybody got all sprayed down, we bought like 20 cans of spray. Like it wasn't terrible after that, but like just going through that ordeal in the morning, we were like, okay, maybe we won't do the fall. So I think we're putting all of our eggs into the spring edition, which will just be the very end of May 31st. So we're looking forward to that one. I'm going to get information posted there. We'll have camping probably more than one night this time.
Mhm.
Just a bunch of cool stuff that we're doing with that one. So yeah, and then I also signed up a couple for Reno. So we have
Oh, good.
some summer events up there at the location you've done it, the tires,
Yep.
Palomino
Palomino.
tires. Yeah,
Yep.
so
That's
working with those folks.
for people that don't know, if you've ever been to the Baldini's show, it's literally like 6 businesses away towards the east, right on the same street. So
Yeah,
it's right down the street.
yeah,
So.
working with those folks to do that. I
Mhm.
believe we also have our World Finals dates pretty much set. It's still kind of the very end of September, first
Mhm.
weekend of October for the West Coast, and then our East Coast is about 2 weeks after that. So I'll have to get those exact dates, but
For what now?
for their World Finals
Oh, okay.
events. Yeah, so we do a West Coast venue and then East Coast venue. We do them on separate weekends just because what we do with IASCA is we're really trying to be on top of the consistency of the rule application. So we get the same head judges to go from West to also go to East.
Mhm.
Whether that's the best way or not, that's not my call, but it seems to be really good for consistent ruling and
Mhm.
it's just the way they've been doing it. So we do two venues, 2 different weekends, but that works out. And then just before that, I do my regional finals. So basically, it's what I've called now the last couple of years our Southwest regional finals, so that I'm looking to get all the competitors that I serve across the entire California, Nevada, even further than that. They get to come up for more of a regional event here in Fresno area, and that's usually pretty big. We do that at Audio Concepts every year.
Okay.
This year, I am looking at possibly doing an indoor venue, but got to get through some hoops to get that sorted out and look at sponsorship.
So just so you know, I've been doing this since 2007, putting together the indoor venue on the West Coast. As you know, we did it outdoors for quite a few years,
Yep,
and the reason is because indoor venues are difficult. You got
very
fire marshal issues, you got security issues, you got
insurance.
restrooms, you got insurance. So yeah, I'm very, very familiar with all the indoor venue stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
it might not be this year. I think aside from the cost of it, which it is what it is, like I think we could make it happen if we had the correct sponsoring and got the interest for it. But it's my staffing is I think my next issue is I'm still
okay.
training judges and trying to depend on a staff I don't really have yet. So we'll see. We'll build that up and decide. But about usually the first or second weekend in September. I'll do my regionals, whether that's indoors or not. We'll still do it. That's kind of my
No.
big capstone event every year. Get the big trophies and
And then obviously World Finals for you guys will be up in Washington or Oregon or whatever, right?
we do it Salem, Oregon right now. It's
Okay.
been the consistent location. We actually have an indoor venue up there
Oh,
that's really
cool.
nice. It's a big stadium essentially.
Oh,
It's like over 25,000 square foot. It's ventilated. It's pretty nice. Big fairgrounds in the Salem area, and then the East Coast is actually more impressive. It's like 3 times the size. It's a giant exhibit hall with multiple stories, and we have vehicles on multiple stories in that one. They do sound quality
mm,
upstairs and then SPL downstairs. They were able to fill that out pretty heftily last year, so they're looking at expanding to get another part of that hall this year
oh,
to
that's
keep
awesome.
adding onto that. So pretty
Yeah.
big back there.
Justin Stolman asks, so what shows are you doing, Doug, besides Autorama? Currently, I'm only doing Autorama. I may be doing a couple of 3Xs, potentially in Fresno at Jay's Alarms. But right now, I have nothing scheduled other than Autorama. My life is going to be upheaved. My wife is moving to Wichita, Kansas in June, and I will be, flying back and forth to Wichita on the weekends. So um, it'll be difficult for me to do shows. But if I schedule a couple of them out, I may only do probably 3 shows this year plus World Finals. So to be honest, so that's the whole reason we got uh, Jose Ramos involved is because he is here and he can be, he's available and his ability um, to be able to do shows and availability is much better, much more in tune to the community than I could be. So I didn't feel it was fair to the competitors to just kind of up and disappear. So, like I said, we got Jose on there. Matthew Busby says, "Hey, I know that guy. Hi, Ray."
How's it going, Matthew?
Justin Stolman wants to know, is East Coast first this year for finals?
Not that I know of. I think it's the same, just West first, East second. I think
Okay.
it's a logistical thing is the reason we do it, so that's a whole other discussion.
Okay. Um, Justin says it's a great venue up there in Salem. So, all right. So that's what you got going on. Any big rule changes for you guys or class changes this year?
So insider info is next year is going to be the big kind
Okay.
of overturn. This year, essentially, the only rules we really did were just kind of we highlighted a couple of things that we needed to emphasize, and that was
Okay.
about it. And we added just one class in our base boxing. We kind of broke up our lightweight division, so it's our kind of our unlimited no wall.
Uh huh.
We broke that up based on cone area now, so that was the only change. It kind of synchronized it with our SPL format a little better. And
Okay.
so guys like Craig Ball, if you know Craig Ball, he's got over 10 15s in his no wall build. It's insane. It won World Finals, and the difference in score between him and then the next contender was so wide. It was like, okay, we need to break up the class a little bit. I think that was one. Next year, we're looking at some bigger moves and changes in the classes, and I think a lot of that we just kind of we wait to get data, and it takes several seasons to get good data to say,
Yep.
okay, well, is this class doing well? Is it getting participation? What is the score differential, and why is the score so different for one competitor versus another? Do we know about their builds, et cetera? And we'll tailor things based on that. So I think next year is the big year. We have enough after this season to kind of make a decision on some big stuff. So,
Cool.
but
So
yeah, otherwise pretty straightforward. You guys shouldn't be shocked by too much. So,
yeah. So I mean, people always bitch and complain saying DB drag changes the rules. We haven't changed the rule in like 7 years. So
it's just clarifications
yeah,
typically.
it's
Yeah,
typically clarifications like, you know, thickness of deadener.
sure.
The biggest rule change we made probably in the last 7 years was we stopped allowing unlimited deadener because somebody literally put 9 inches of deadener in their floorboard, and they raised it up to the seat. And they said, "Oh, it's just sound deadener." Sure, it is.
Yeah, it's hard to know. You have to, as a judge, and we grapple with those same questions. And
Yep.
for what we do is we're going to end up looking at the cab and just saying, is that the essence of what a vehicle should look like when it's said and done? Like, can you drive that thing? Do you have foot space? Like all these different
Right.
things. And a lot of times it's like, the rule seems somewhat vague and there's probably gray area, but our judges, we get together often enough that we've come
Hmm.
up with criteria that we can just say, no, that's not going to fly. And, whether they need it in writing or not, that's kind of what we add every single season is a little bit of extra if it needs to be
Right.
put in writing.
So for us, we have a judges text or group or whatever, and so if say you were gonna like you, I believe I even used your Jeep one year. You sent me pictures of your doors. Hey,
Hmm.
what class does this do me for this and that? And I texted to all the judges, and we have a discussion in the back, and then I come back and tell you. What people don't know is like they'll send it to me, and then they'll send it to Jeremy Kramer, and then they'll send it to Jeffrey Fernandez, and like they think they're going to get a different answer.
Right.
It's we as a judging group in DB Drag have had this discussion. We all know what your vehicle is, and we've all came to this decision. I don't make decisions on my own. Jeffrey doesn't make decisions. Kramer doesn't make. None of these guys make decisions on their own. So
Right.
we're all
Yeah,
a
very
team.
similar.
You know.
Yep. I'll be
Uh,
in the middle of a show sometimes and I'll see something I've never seen before and I'll
yep.
interpret the best I can and give an opinion to my other judge,
Yeah.
and text them during the show and just say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking. What's your thought?" And more than not, we'll come to the same conclusion. But
Yep.
sometimes it's like, okay, we're gonna do this for today. We're gonna tell the competitor that this can change though, because once we get more of a
Right.
formal meeting, we're gonna come to a better conclusion. And it'll be like that where I have a chat too where I just send photos like
Hmm.
say, usually if it's like a region I haven't been to for a while, so say Vegas area, I'll go down there and I'll see a bunch of new builds that I haven't seen for a season. They want to do IASCA and it's like, okay, well, I got like 6 photos or 7 photos I need to discuss.
Hmm.
We're gonna do this in a meeting some other time, and then by the next season, it's like, okay, now we have some rules implemented. We just fixed a rule due to a Vegas competitor with our stripper poles, the allowable pole that goes from the roof down to the
Right.
floor and whatnot. We used to never allow it to be attached to the wall, the front of the wall enclosure.
Right.
Because that's if it's attached to the wall and it's ahead of the B pillar, then technically your wall's ahead of the B pillar. But now we've kind of said no, that it's not normally practical. If somebody wants to attach a pole, we understand that that's not really your box, it's your pole. So
Oh.
you can attach it to the box. So we've kind of changed some of our interpretations based on people we see, and
Okay.
that takes time sometimes. So
Hmm.
I'll emphasize what you said earlier too, like the competitors who do want to bitch about just random things that they think are happening, they aren't usually as random. Like the judges and the organizations are putting a lot of effort in the background to come up with something, and we're not just doing it based on what fits a specific competitor. So like
No.
if you're making an argument as a competitor, you're probably making it based on what you want.
Hmm.
But the arguments the judges are making amongst each other are based on the practicality, and it's not about favoritism or about
Nope.
specific wants. It's about kind of like how it would be in like a legal system. We're looking at, you know, the big picture, and we're
Hmm.
seeing a lot more than just a single competitor might be seeing with their own build.
Yep.
So there's
Uh,
reasonings.
yeah. So for us in DB Drag, like I said, this is my experience because I'm not in IASCA, but in DB Drag, we don't even send like pictures of the vehicle so that you can tell whose vehicle it is unless I mean, people that have intimate knowledge of people's vehicles, obviously from a picture you can tell whose it is. But in general, because we are a worldwide organization, there's people in New Zealand and Australia and France and Greece and Germany and all that, right? And when they look at a vehicle, we say, hey, here's what we see. Here's this vehicle. Do you have any problem with this is how I'm going to judge it?
Right.
And almost always it comes back, oh, well, I guess we all judge it the same. I mean, that I would
Right.
say over 90% comes that way. And um, we are 100% allowed to disagree with each other internally, right? So I'll go, hey, no, dude, that's bullshit. You can never do that. This is why, and I'll lay out my case. But when the discussion has been made and the answer is final, whether I like the decision or not doesn't matter.
Exactly.
This is the decision
I
as a
have a
group
whole
we
list
made.
of ones I don't like. It's like, and I tell the competitor sometimes, I'm like, look, I personally don't think I like this. This is not
Yep.
how I would interpret it, but this was the conclusion, and this is how I'm going to judge it.
Yep.
I'm not going to break from that.
Yeah, so I will tell you also, every year we have a discussion. So does anybody have any suggestions for modifications, rule changes, or just clarifications? And they go, other than Doug, we already know all of his. So, but I've been doing this a minute, so Joel says he just did 2 different DB drag events in the Philippines last November 23rd and December 14th, which he did. I saw a couple of pictures of it, and looked like he had a really good turnout and maybe a really good time. So,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
uh,
Yeah,
let's.
he came by my house to
Oh,
grab some
okay.
trophies at one point.
All right, yeah. All right, Justin Stolman asked. He needs to clarity on a rule. So if my expedition has a stock center console, are you allowed to modify it at all without getting put into Ultimate? So I'm guessing that's you because we don't have Ultimate as a class.
Yeah, I mean, there's specific modifications, and Justin, we can talk in detail about what you want to do. Generally, it's based on the class, right? So our advanced classes, you have more flexibility to do things. If you're making modifications for sound quality, such as adding speakers, then that's generally acceptable. If you're making modifications that are purely for SPL, then that's when I have to get into the detail with you. So I can't give you a specific answer until I see
Yep.
what you're doing.
So in DB Drag, our ultimate response is always, here's our interpretation of what you are asking. When I see it in person or another judge sees it,
Yep.
you may get a different answer. But this is how we interpret your question with the information you provided.
Yeah, like I never like to classify. I won't anymore. I used to.
Right.
I will not classify over the phone. I will not classify over pictures. I will
Yep.
say I think this is what it's going to be, but until I can see it in person, I can't
Yep.
get you an answer. It can't be definite. Um, so that's kind of how we operate. We try not to do it over the internet kind of deal, especially if I'm just reading a message that's even more vague than even a photo. So I'd have to get again, I have to get with you, Joel or Justin.
Okay. SQ Sounds out of Bridgetown, Barbados. He says, we even messaged Doug to ask questions. And like I said, um, we do. All the judges, no problem. Jeffrey, myself, we're pretty good. Somebody named Little Creeper says howdy. Um, Stock center console, does that affect anything as long as it is stock ahead of the B pillar? So Justin asked, my new expedition has a stock center console. Does affect anything as long as it is stock ahead of the B pillar?
No, you
Oh,
could cut that thing in half if you cut it right there at the B pillar line.
and
You don't need it
that'd be
for
same.
for advanced classes. So I'm assuming
Oh,
if you're doing advanced no wall or advanced wall, if you're doing lesser than that, like our SUV or our trunk classes, then you can't do that. So
okay.
be aware of that, Justin.
Yeah, so one of our wall classes, it'd be the same for DB drag. Once you hit the wall line, whatever you want to do back there, if you're in the wall class, it's fine.
Right.
Dave Bradshaw says it's all Craig Ball's fault
True.
for the changes. uh, Tristan out in Barbados says we like to do at least 8 shows next season. Craig Ball says that's what I do. Ray Pimley, planning to have IASCA in the Philippines too. Please help me with the SPL things. That's Joel.
That will probably be in conversation with Travis Chin. So if
Okay.
you know him, I know you know him. You could see about getting us some judges. That's not a jurisdiction I cover. So,
Uh
but I'm
huh.
definitely happy to get you in contact if you need it.
Yeah. Justin says a 6th order wall is what he's doing.
Well, it sounds like yeah, he'll be advanced if not ultimate, depending on what the front of the B pillar looks like ahead of the B pillar.
So like I said, I'm not familiar with IASCA even remotely, other than base boxing, and that was shoot, I don't know,
Years
15
ago.
years ago,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not familiar with it at all. So is your advanced or your ultimate like our Super Street?
Super Street is going to be more like our advanced 1, 2, and 3. So those are all
Okay.
walled classes. We
Okay.
also had advanced no wall classes. So the
Okay.
kind of the big difference between advanced and like say our SUV class is the advanced allows you to have a lot more interior removed. You're allowed to do stiffening of the panels like wood roofs, different modifications, and those we do expect that the wood roofs are covered up, right? It has to look kind of factory OEM to some extent, like some sort of headliner can be installed. You can't build the thing down crazy far. It's gotta resemble OEM style appearance. You got to have all your interior in ahead of the B pillar, but uh, you're advanced, you're unlimited power. You're kind of able to do more modifications. So it's kind of a more of a beefed up class. And then ultimate is if you're missing in big interior panels or you've done crazy modification to your windshield or your door frames or just things like that. Your console's completely rebuilt into some wood partition or something like that. That will bump you into ultimate or
Uh,
advanced. The aim is you're allowed to modify and beef up the vehicle, but you're still resembling an OEM appearance, something comfortable to drive, functional to drive. Those are kind of the main differences right there. We do want to maybe look at having a class that kind of bridges between the two, so you're
mhm.
allowed to do a little bit more modification, but you're not ultimate. But we're not quite there yet. I believe you guys have some classes like that, like your X class, I
Yeah,
believe.
Super Street X is kind of our
Yeah,
bridge between Extreme and Super Street. So
right.
you're allowed to do the wood roof and change some things up. As long as you have a factory dash and
Mhm.
factory windows, you tend to be in X, and you can do any other cab modifications you want. Um, that's kind of our bridge class. The thing though is if you're moving in the X class, your frequency gets lowered. So the max
Okay,
frequency is only 50 hertz, right?
interesting.
Versus 80 hertz in extreme class.
I think that's a good rule. I like
Uh,
that because it kind of keeps some of those bigger builds out of there that aren't gearing towards maybe what
yep.
because what I find and what I've been recommending for ASCA is having that bridge class right there like you're
Uh-huh.
talking about. That's good for those demo builds. Those guys that they
Right.
need to beef up the car, they need to make it not tear itself apart, but they're
Mhm.
also not playing at frequencies necessarily to win world championships in SPL. They,
Mhm.
they need more of a class to play in that's built for them, and I like that. That 50 hertz makes sense.
Okay. See here. Ray, do you do IASCA sound quality formats in our area?
I do not. We take sound quality pretty seriously, so there's actually quite a bit of training involved to get a sound quality judge. And if there was anybody who was very serious who wanted to get that training, I would love to have a judge to do that for me here, but I personally don't. Whenever I do any SQ, it's usually I fly up Harry from Arizona or I'll fly down Travis from Washington.
Okay. What car do you use as the training car?
I don't even know. I think what they do is they do a live training in Texas like twice a year for
Okay.
the SQ guys, and they have like a room, I believe that I know at World Finals they had a room. They use it
Uh,
for like the basis.
they
Like you go listen in the room, there's a setup specifically built, and then that's what you set as your baseline to go judge the cars.
okay.
But
They
I don't, again, I'm not too into SQ, so
okay.
I don't know.
They used to use a guy out of Bullhead City's car. I can't
Okay.
remember his name off the top of my head, but that was one of my gripes with sound quality because I did sound quality in '99.
Okay.
I did it at one show, and I will never do it again. I got dinged on my tires being dirty. I'm like, dude, I drove my car to the show. I drove it from Merced all the way up to Sacramento at Autorama, and you know, and I got dinged for dirty tires. I'm like, dude,
Right.
what else am I supposed to do? And the gentleman that they used as the perfect car soundstage was competing in the competition. So obviously, if he's the
He's going
baseline,
to do well. Yeah.
I can't beat him if I wanted to, right?
Yeah, and I
So
don't think every event we use a card, a baseline. I think it's, judges, at least our IASCA SQ judges, they're getting that baseline set often enough that they
okay,
they have it in their mind, or they're encouraged to go listen to live music a lot. Like a lot of
yeah,
that's based on live music
okay,
and how music sounds in person, right?
yeah,
Spatially and everything. And they're able to do events, based on just being familiar. So I think
yeah.
that's part of that training. They try to keep up on it, and that's the extent of what I know. For Autorama, since IASCA only can do Saturday with you, what we did last year was we actually set up at Gately Audio and did sound quality on Sunday,
Yeah.
because that doesn't hopefully step on your toes in SPL, and it also, while Travis was in town, it makes sense. So probably do that again this year if that's how that works out. So we will hopefully have a few sound quality events, barring not having any new judges for that, but it's not something that I'm looking to add onto my plate.
So Matthew Busby asks, can I run more than one build? How does IASCA work? And then I'll tell how DB Drag works with that.
Yeah, you can run a single vehicle per format.
Okay.
You can't have your name more than once. At least the last discussion I had. I think you can have like teammates and run. It gets convoluted.
So,
Depends on if you're just running, let's say, two vehicles. Yeah, you could have a dedicated vehicle for one format and then switch out for another vehicle for the other format. We'll keep it simple. And
um,
so yeah, that's the answer is yes.
okay. So the way DB Drag works is like you said. So we have 5 different formats that you can run, and you can run one vehicle in each. But you can be so. For instance, a gentleman who used to do it was Brian Nyman. He would
Yep.
do base race. So he would have Brian Nyman 1, Brian Nyman 2, and that way he can compete in 3 different. But since then the rule has changed. You can do that with 3 different names, but they have to be 3 different vehicles if they're in the same format. So if you're running within that format, so DB drag or base race, you're only allowed to run one vehicle in that format. So you can't use the same vehicle to run, say, um, Super Street 1 to 2, go over, put 2 more woofers in it, and then compete in
Right.
Super Street 3 to 4 with the same vehicle, even under a different name. You're only allowed to use that vehicle one time in each format. So,
Yeah, that's how we are.
yeah, you can't run it. Ray Pimley can't run that vehicle in base race 129.9, and then Josie Pimley come in and run that same vehicle in 39.9 because that vehicle's already competed in that format.
Right.
So there you go. Let's see. Let's see. As long as registration. Um, oh. Steve Willis trolling a little bit right here says I want a class built just for me. So
That's what everybody wants.
that's right.
We've talked about that so many times.
I know. I want a class that's exactly perfect for my vehicle, but sucks for everybody else's vehicle. That's the ideal class, right? Um, uh, Tristan says, yeah, IASCA does a listening room for sound quality. Let's see. So 99, that'd be 2000. So that's like 25 years ago was when I did sound quality. So, I mean, I'm sure things have changed since then, right?
Yeah. No,
Um,
I know at the big events they'll set up the room. I know they did that at World Finals. I don't know how they conduct smaller events. I think it's like I was saying, I think they're just, good judges and they don't just get anybody. That's why I don't think I want it, because number one, the training, and number two, Travis has told me, it's like, I don't know that you can do that. Do you play any instruments? Like that's some of the first questions he'll ask. Like, do you know how to play? Do you know how to make music? That's number one. You
oh,
have to
okay.
not only understand what it sounds like, but you also have to understand it mathematically and how it functions as well, because I think that's integral to how the judging style is too.
Okay.
So
Like
it's
I said,
pretty in depth.
I understand staging. I understand the mechanics behind it, but I
Hmm.
don't. I mean, the last time I played an instrument was 7th grade, which was, whew, let's see, 7th grade. That would put me, what, 12 years old? So I put in like 84 ish. Yeah, about 84 was the last time I played an instrument.
Yeah, I'm
So,
not saying that all organizations view it that way, but that's at least the way IASCA, the IASCA's owner, so
yep.
Travis, he owns IASCA. He bought a few years
Yes.
back, and for those who don't know, but he's said that to me. He's like, "Do you even play anything?" I said, "Well, no. I'm a big enjoyer of music and I can
Mhm.
appreciate it, but I don't know the fundamentals it would require to do that. So I
Mhm.
think a lot of that's that kind of training they do for the first timers in the SQ side, and so
Okay.
a little bit more involved.
Um,
SPL is nice because it's not
it's
objective
simple.
judging. It's straightforward
Yes.
with simple rule interpretation and knowing how to function a term lab.
Yep. Joel says when we were talking about the multiple names, he says I did it in DB Drag. I have a van and I have a sedan, both under two different names.
Yep.
So, let's see here. Also in IASCA, when I compete in Max MACS format with my van and sedan in the same show, Joel 1 versus Joel 2. Excuse me.
I don't even think we're going to offer Max ever again. I think it's
What is
gone.
that?
It was a very infant, I will say, format that was more aimed at just judging the vehicle based on how it looked, how the install was,
Oh,
uh, you know, kind of passively judging its sound quality. It was so I think Iasca has a few formats that they kind of like had cobbled together maybe 10, 15 years ago. They kind of hung around, but never really were officialized. And I think now we've kind of weeded those out. I had tried to kind of play around with Max in California to give competitors like Joel
just some
something,
options.
yeah, some options.
Uh
And
huh.
we got to the point where like, yeah, there's not enough basis here. The rules don't make sense. The same thing goes with like we're looking at some stuff for motorcycles and things
Yeah.
like that. So we need to get more time put into making those formats
Uh,
make sense.
Motorcycles are tough in California. I had a
Yes.
very good format for motorcycles. We did pipes. We did bags. Systems in the bags, systems on the ferrules,
Right.
and it piddled out. So it was a difficult format to get off the ground.
Yeah.
That's all I'll
We're
say.
facing that same thing. And we had one part of that format that included SPL, which is great, but
Yep.
I don't have the correct mic for that. So I'd have to get a different mic. And,
Mm.
I don't even know if
Yeah.
TermLab's limited to the full
It
spectrum to some
is.
extent too. I
If
mean,
you have the X, the sensor X.
yeah, that's the one I don't have.
Oh, okay.
I think you brought it up. And I think if Sensor X, I think then it starts being able to have the ability to do the full spectrum. But,
Correct.
I haven't been able to compare that to like any other
Oh, it makes
SPL
a
setup
difference. You
either.
can ask Joel. so,
So we'll
um,
definitely continue looking at that. But
okay.
yeah, that's good knowledge to have there too. Is I
Yeah.
just don't have the setup for it.
Tristan says, Doug, I was 1 year old in 1984. Steve Willis says, I trust the mic, not the ear. And Matthew says, loud is not always pretty. Um, that's realistically when DB Drag was doing the sound quality, we'll call it sound quality, um, in Cyclone. We had to make a objective truth, not a subjective truth. So what we said is, can you reproduce these sounds? They don't have to be flat. They have to be within 3 dBs from frequency to frequency.
Right.
So if you can create all the sounds within a bandwidth, then obviously with tuning you can you make it sound correct. And so, but objectively, can you reproduce all of the frequencies? And that was the question. So that was the way. And I will tell you, that was the biggest driving factor when I did that sound quality event. I was like, well, the guy judging it's only 5'7". I'm 5'11". Obviously, when I'm listening to my stereo, I'm sitting in a different position than he is. And that was a problem I had with it, like I said, and that's why I moved away from sound quality.
Yeah. I personally just not going to be able to ever do that. I
Yeah.
respect those that do, and
Oh yeah.
and what I will say to everybody watching too is if you have not sat in like a dedicated SQ car, I'm not talking like you just your friend down the street. I'm talking like somebody at this event who like consistently wins, you're missing out on something because I have never heard music as well as I have in some of those cars. Some of those top competitors in SQ, at least the IASCA side. Um, it it is a different experience. You feel music in a different way, and it's so cohesive in a way that, you'd have to have a really good set of, earbuds or something to even get kind of close to that. And yet you still don't get that whole body experience. It's not about the bass and the subwoofers, but like whatever bass that they do bring you, it's so well tied into the rest of the music. It's different. It is so different, and it
Mm-hmm.
sounds, I can't describe it. And so I recommend if you ever do see an SQ event on my calendar, and I do have one in let's see, January 19th. Richard's doing one in Vacaville that includes IASCA. So there's an IASCA SQ coming up, and I think it's Larry is one of the guys I think of. You get into his car, and they're happy to let you hear these cars. Like they want you to
Okay.
get in there, and they'll put you in the driver's seat. They're gonna set the seat just right, whatever they're gonna do. And he played a few different things for me, and the main thing I remember, not only does it sound good, but like as soon as the music pauses or it has some like empty background, right? You get to
Mm-hmm.
a pause or just a quiet part of the song, you'll notice no other ambient noise. There is no hiss, there's no buzz, there's no hum, there is nothing. Not even outside you're really getting much. And that was the most impressive part to me. It was like it's beyond being in a movie theater. It is so drop pin dead quiet at moments, and then next moment you got the music, and it just that contrast, it makes it sound better just because there's nothing kind of being introduced in the music that's not supposed to be there. So it's the best explanation I can give. But definitely, like Jeremy Boyd, some of those guys, Larry, definitely go check out their cars if you get a chance to at these events.
So for me personally, because I enjoy the technical aspect of music, not I don't have a um, visceral response necessarily to music, right? It doesn't touch my soul, right? That kind of thing. I love music, but I love it for its technical aspects.
Mhm.
On you're creating this, your timing's here, this blends with this in this way, right? So what my wife listens to music for and what I listen to music for are completely different things, right? My wife listens to music because she wants to feel something or she
Sure.
wants to express something. I don't listen to music for that same thing. Not that my ways is right or wrong or bad or good, right? It's just different. Um, but I will tell you, when I have my car set up for sound quality, um, it was amazing. One of my favorite songs of all time in that is Hell's Bells. And when it starts and it feels like you're literally sitting in the center of the bell,
Yep.
like you're stationed yourself and you're sitting at the top of a cathedral and there's this big ass bell fully around you, engulfing you, and you can feel the bell, and it doesn't just shiver in your gut, it shivers your arms, your legs, your feet. It's completely encompassing.
Yes. That's a good description.
um,
Yeah.
but the one thing that did annoy me about having that level of a sound quality setup is now I can hear the guy strum on the guitar. I can hear the guy ticking his sticks when he's playing the drums. I can hear him ticking off the side of the drum. When you get to that level of clarity and understanding of what you're listening to and the environment, it's because I don't listen to it for the reasons my wife does. That kind of stuff detracts from the experience for me. If that
Interesting.
makes sense
Yeah.
to you.
Those imperfections, right?
Yeah, but the imperfections are absolutely necessary. That's why AI can't make the same kind of music
Right.
a human can, right? So, but when I'm listening to, like I said, because I'm listening to it from a technical standpoint, that's all I can hear. I can hear the stick banging off the side of the drum. I'm not hearing his drum beat hit right when it's supposed to. I'm hearing tick, 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 So that's why sound quality doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, other people, freaking, hey man, you love that stuff. Just like with bass, right? People that don't understand how we just love bass. I don't understand the sound quality because of that same reason. And you're right. When you sit in one of those bass cars for a demo, that's why they have 4 billion watts of power. Is so you can't hear that hiss. But when there's that quiet part of the song, there's all kinds of.
There's always something. Well, that's what, and I have appreciation because I love bass. Forever. But the older I've gotten and the more exposure to the sound quality side, the more I appreciate people who spend time putting effort into their mids and highs. Number one, like a DSP. Number two, getting rid of those hisses and alternator whines, and then not having it tuned to where I'm just hearing your tweeters blowing at my ears. Like I want to hear the whole spectrum, and I want you to be able to turn down the subwoofer sometime, and I still want to hear a well put together system. And so like me personally, that's been always the goal. Is like I don't want to just have like loud mids and highs. I want them to actually sound nice. And I can drive home with the subwoofers basically off, and it sound really good.
Well, I mean, look at your Jeep, right? Look at your Jeep. I mean, how many mids did you have and highs and
Well, yeah, it's like the doors are just loaded with mids and highs, but like I'm not pushing them crazily. I'm more so like saying, oh, instead of turning it up, why don't I add more speaker?
Yeah.
Come up with the volume and keep the equalization nice, and so I'm not taxing the speakers and I'm still keeping them within a good bandwidth.
Yep.
And yeah, so I don't have the loudest doors in the world, but they don't sound like garbage when I'm playing them, right? They're not PA speakers sounding. They sound more warm. It's like it's a different, kind of environment. But so I have appreciation for all different, drives, but I'll hear people who get the mids and highs going. It's like you're not impressing me in the way that you think you are. It's loud, but it's not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound good.
Joel says people have different taste and preferences when it comes to music. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too.
Yep.
So if I ever do any of that, like I've done a little bit of judging, like I've listened to Joel's where, for like Max, when we were doing it, you do listen to the quality of it. And I'd say my listening style is I try to think definitely past whether I like the song or not, and I'll try to get them to play more than one song. But where I listen to is because I don't have the necessary background for like knowing the spatial awareness. Like I get it to the extent like I've sat in a few of the cars and I get this spatially, but what I listen more for is like, okay, am I getting mechanical noises out of the speakers? Or is there weird resonances happening? Am I hearing things coming from your system that if I've heard this song without it, like I wouldn't have heard? Like, if I go listen to this with my AirPods right now, it's definitely going to not sound that way. I'm not going to get this weird humming or whatever I'm getting from your system. So like I'm pretty good at picking those things out, and I'll try to judge on those because it's the best I can do. But that's the best I can do. I can't get much into it, beyond that.
Hey, Christian Jensen popping in with some eyes. Hey, Christian. For me, if you listen to a true classical thing on a true sound quality system like Beethoven's Fifth, the canon at the beginning, right? I mean, just freaking awesome.
Yes.
It does give you a different appreciation for that type of music. Like I said, I don't have a visceral response to music, and like classical music is something people absolutely do have a visceral response to, right? But me, it's the arrangement of it is what I appreciate. The canon is from all around you. You hear your strings over here on the right. You hear your horns over here on the left. Your center stage where they blend together. I mean, those are cool things in sound quality, but truthfully, like I said, when you get to a really good true sound quality, now you're actually hearing people's breaths in that stuff, and that just doesn't for me, because I'm on the technical, I'm listening to the technical side so much, it detracts me from
It's a
what's going on.
distracting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
hear you.
Christian says he's looking forward to the 2025 show season. Hey, we all are. I could appreciate that. Um, like I said, we got what's his name, Jose Ramos Jr. going to take over DB Drag. We got Ray Pimley doing IASCA. I'm probably going to do maybe 3 events this year. I'll do Autorama, maybe a couple down in Fresno or something. It's just where people need some multi-point events. Most likely, most of my events I'm not going to do till September, just because that's the end of the season. That's when people need points. Yeah, you know all about that points. Any ideas about your points requirements for you guys?
Same as it's been. So
Yep.
I require 50 points per format for the regionals, and then World is 75 points per format.
Okay, and it's how many points per show?
So 1x is 10 points if you win, 9
Okay,
points if you got second,
and so on
etc.
down.
And
Yeah.
then 2x, 3x is just a multiplication on that, just like how
Uh,
yours is.
Justin says, "Did I sell my trailer and equipment?" Yes. If you didn't hear at the beginning of the podcast, Jose Ramos has purchased it, and so I'm helping him out. Justin says, "I already have all my points for IASCA."
Yeah, he actually does. He went to World Finals and then a few of the shows since, so he's got his stuff early. He's
That's
actually
cool.
what I do is I post for my region is I keep track of different things and metrics like point leaders. So he's
Mhm.
actually, I believe, the points leader right now. He's got the most points or second most points out of everybody right now in the season. So
Okay, awesome. Joel says if you ever think about getting rid of your RTA sensor, uh, he's willing to take it off you. Just let him know.
yeah, I have it and I still kind of use it.
Oh, do you?
I tune my vehicles with it. I know it's not you the perfect measurement, but it gets me a baseline at least, so I don't have to go spend money on a real RTA.
Yeah.
I feel like that it's got to be fairly
Oh
close
no, no,
to most RTA setups.
it's really good.
I think positioning is the issue with it.
Yeah. So like 128 decibels is like its max. And then it
Right.
starts clipping and doing some other stuff inside the system. That's why the Sensor X, you can go all the way up to, I think, 180 with
So
those.
does the sensor X replace the RTA now? Does it
Correct.
functionally? Okay,
He doesn't
that's interesting.
he doesn't even support the RTA one anymore.
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
yeah,
So you can still go to RTA mode on Term Lab with the
exactly.
Sensor X. Okay,
Yes,
well
sir.
then Joel, if you want to, it sounds like that might be something for you to look at is getting the correct sensor.
Oh, he does. He has the Sensor X.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
I don't know what he bought my RTA off me. So I don't know what he uses it for, but he wants it for a reason. Now the only thing that Wayne Harris has ever designed for Term Lab that I do not have is the RTA. So
Interesting.
I got every other thing he's ever done.
Yeah, I
So
don't know where I got mine. I think it was it had to have come with one of my older systems. I had a Rebel at one point, and then I got the Magnum used at one point. So interesting. But yeah,
uh
I would consider trading my my RTA mic for an X mic.
oh, he says the Sensor X doesn't work on bagger beats. The RTA works better on bagger beats because typically those are like 118, 119. So
Right.
the RTA one is much better at lower SPLs. The X really doesn't work great until you get to about 118 or better.
It needs okay. So it's got a different threshold.
Yes,
Interesting. A
yeah,
sensitivity threshold.
exactly the difference. So, all right. Well, we asked you the last time you were on here, right? What your base head definition of base head was, right?
Yeah, I don't think I could repeat the last time. I have to come up with a on the fly here.
Nah. So we won't hit you with that again. We've already gone over a couple of minutes, but yeah, I just wanted to talk to you again and kind of get your season. Let other people know what's going on with IASCA and whatnot. I tell people all the time, you're doing a great job here in California. You're helping continue the base head community. We got your wife getting ready to have a kid. We talked about that probably a little longer than we should, but it's important for us discuss people outside of just where they are, in the car audio stuff. We never even got to your Jeep this time, you know. um, so that's just how it is. As a judge, you're used to that kind of stuff, right? So, anyway, anybody you'd like to say thank you to, sponsors, whatever?
Yeah, we got Ruthless Audio who
Yep.
just signed up. I want to thank them. Crystal Audio Solutions out of the Washington area. Colton up there. Be Busy Audio. So those are the three that I got signed up right now. We're talking to a few others. So definitely, if anybody has interest, I got a lot of events going on. I need help, so don't hesitate. I'll put that out there. And then I want to also say, for all of you who enjoy DB Drag, I will be doing my best to make sure to kind of forward a lot of my possible events over to Jose. Definitely going to work with him. He's always invited wherever I can fit him in, so we'll continue working with him and get our events together.
Very cool. Anyway, and then for me, like I said, I'm going to continue with the podcast. We'll keep talking to people. We'll have Jose on here a little bit. He just wasn't available. He's got some tonsillitis thing going on, so he wasn't available here. I didn't mention Jeffrey. The reason he couldn't make it tonight is he's moving this week, tomorrow actually, and he just wasn't available to do. He's got to pack and get ready, and so he's really got a lot of stuff on his plate to move tomorrow. So that's why he didn't make it in here today. Gary Killian, for you guys that didn't hear, his internet was out. I called Andrew McCain because I thought Andrew would be a really good, because he actually has some IASCA World Championships, and he's in Cozumel. So
Nice.
So he's out there with some friends doing a diving trip, and so I didn't want to disturb him. So, like I said, I tried to get some other people in here to help, whatnot. But, you got me, you got Ray. Ray did a great job in here tonight. Appreciate you, Ray. Thank you very much. Want to thank our sponsors once again. Bass, Badass Sounds by Steve, and E-Box Design and Install. If you guys, Autorama, it's bigger and bigger every year again. So if you guys are going to have a chance to make it, we decided it was May 3rd and 4th. So May 3rd, May 3rd is IASCA and DB Drag. May 4th will be DB Drag only. So it'll be a 5X weekend for DB Drag. I think it's a 2X for you, Ray, on Saturday.
I'm going to make it. Well, we did a 3X world record last year. We're going to try to do that again.
Okay. So it'll be a 3X world record for IASCA at that same event. So, if you guys are coming from different areas out at, up north or whatever, like I said, in DB Drag, it gives you a 5X opportunity. And in IASCA, it gives you a 3X opportunity, a world record potential event. So please participate. I don't believe any of the prices gone up, so it'll be exactly the same as last year. He says, Craig Ball says, maybe I need to piss people off and show up. You're more than welcome to show, Craig.
He came up last year just to get all of my guys mad.
Oh, did he?
All the locals. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to set some records. And he went home with 3 records.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, like I said, guys, I don't have to take anybody old man's money tonight. Bowling is off tonight. So I'm just here hanging out with my son. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to drive up to Reno and go bowling. Yeah, like I said, you guys, I appreciate it. Hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas. Did you have a good Christmas, Ray?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of family and getting ready for the baby.
Oh, dude,
That's all the gifts we got.
Yes, I'll tell you, next year it will be awesome Christmas. Your wife's going to buy things that you're like, oh, please stop.
I already see it coming.
Oh, you already see it coming.
Yep,
Did you guys get a diaper genie yet?
No.
Okay, so those just came out like right when my son, who's now 24, was just getting out of diapers. So you change a diaper, you throw it in this, and it individually wraps it up and just builds like a
Whoa.
sausage thing. And so it keeps the stank out.
All right, I'm gonna invest in one of those.
Yeah, you look into a diaper genie. You might like that thing.
Nice.
But other than that, like I said, hey, congratulations with you guys. I'm sure everybody's praying for a good, quick delivery. Everything's fine, and like I said, it will change your perspective, and it'll change it for the good.
Yeah.
I fully doubt that. Look forward to seeing you out there, seeing you at Autorama. Doubt I'll see Josie out there. Might be a little
little
difficult in May for
Yeah.
her to be getting out and around. She'll start doing her waddling thing. Has she got the bump where she's holding it yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh
It's- Yeah.
Okay.
She asks me to hold it and like lift it up for her, give her a little relief.
Have you felt the baby kick yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Very faint. She
Uh-huh.
feels it. She feels the baby a lot, where I have a hard time still, but
Yep.
I got a faint kick a few days ago for the first time.
Have you seen the baby roll around in her belly yet?
No.
Oh, that is. So have you ever seen the movie Aliens?
No.
Oh, so you can literally watch the baby's head roll from one side of
Oh.
her to the other side, or you'll see a foot slide across her belly.
Jeez.
And that's impressive too, I will say.
Yeah, the best we got, or the best I've got so far, was the ultrasound, and the baby was moving around quite a bit during that.
The 3D ultrasound?
No, we're looking at doing that a little bit later into it. So
Okay.
I think that's like closer to third trimester is when they
Okay.
want that.
Yeah, because then you can start seeing the squinched up nose and the
Yep.
lips, and yeah. So hey, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
It's really cool. I'm way past the baby time in my life. So, the reason we're moving to Wichita is because my daughter is trying to start having kids, and so my wife wants to be part of that world again. So,
Yeah, that's good.
yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, we've gone way over tonight. I appreciate you, Ray. Hopefully, you had a great time. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Once again, E-Box Design and Install. Badass Sounds by Steve Bass. If you guys want to support somebody, please support somebody who supports things that you guys like. Anyway, Ray, #daddy mode. That's from Matthew Busby.
It started, yeah. I sold 2 vehicles. We got a new family truck, and
well, I
it's already
went
kicking
from
in.
doing 28 DB drag shows a year down to 10.
Yeah, I was
because
at
of
about
Daddy
28
mode.
last year, so it's going to be definitely, that's why I'm depending on some new judges.
Yep, there you go. All right, guys. Once again, we'd like to say thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week at California time, 5:30 p.m. California time, the only time that matters. We out of here. Peace.